Good morning, everyone. How are you? Hello, Janet, Monica, Rita. Welcome. I'm also open on the LinkedIn, Facebook group, and also YouTube. So, um, welcome everybody on the new vibe. Also, I was pondering on a question this morning. In my life, what is the place of learning? How did I learn to become a doctor and to get that degree, right? And how did I learn while practicing medicine? And after retirement from the clinical practice, and how did I continue to learn? And how am I learning even now? Okay. So I never stop learning. I always come from the viewpoint. Um, I don't know so many things, so let me learn something today, right? So to keep the mind like that requires a lot of insight into workings of the mind, right? Um, Looking at the facts and figures and looking at the experience with the things we learn, right? But there is something about we learn from our lived experience, from our internal exploration. So that is something very important to note. So I was writing an article on this in LinkedIn. So I wanted to share with you how was I learning before I became a doctor, and I had to learn from the teachers, from the textbooks prescribed, and also general curiosity about things, about um, how learning was so important in India while we were growing up, and we were asked to study well. That's the only job they said you have. If you don't study and learn something, you have wasted your food for the day. That's what they said. So anyway, we were engaged in learning a lot of facts and figures from the books and the teachers and the society, and that's how we wanted to get the degree, right? We wanted to create a livelihood. We wanted to understand some things and all that. Okay, that's what happened, right? And then, as a physician, we are required to work in the confines of the medical practice, the administrative rules, insurance rules, and so many restrictions were there. And even though we know something better than what they were talking about, um, we had restrictions of the monetary and political and administrative restraints. Okay, we had to function with all of that. So that's a different kind of adjusting to. Maybe somebody is not that wise or not that really know stuff, right? But still, you have to do that. And then I was exposed to ancient wisdom. How did they learn what they learned? What was their modus operandi? That I found very fascinating because a lot of people think India is all about belief. Not so. The other cultures may have some belief, or you have to believe in Jesus, you have to believe in Allah, or something like that. But in ancient wisdom, where even Hinduism is also not even identified as such, the important quality was mukshatva. That means I don't know, but I'm very curious about this thing. So let me see what that is, right? So that kind of intense curiosity is one of the requirements of uh, finding out your own lived experience and what do you really feel about it. For example, if you take a vipassana, breathing exercise and sitting down and all that, it's not enough for them to get the benefits of the deep breathing. But they wanted to understand, how does it work? How is that deep breathing makes my mind slow down? They wanted to understand that. See, that kind of intense curiosity led them to believe that there is no mind but only thoughts, and they were able to see that, you know. And they said all the experience outward is quite different from the lived experiences inward. That is something they talked about too. So it's a question of introducing to different aspects of learning, you know. Observation, observing it is still mind. How can you do that? And how can you perceive something without any prejudices, just like that? Okay, so these are all the new areas of understanding our learning mechanism, our mind, our senses, our experiences, and what are the questions about our unrest, our confusion, our suffering, all that. Okay, lots of times people don't understand. If you don't use it, it will go waste. So if you don't use your thought properly, you will have dementia. See, many retirees, they go into decay of the mind, which is the dementia we call it. It's much more hastened or much more intense when you don't really use it. Say they don't have anything to do, they don't have a mind to use for anything, right? They just exist, and that's a terrible life, you know. And I was intensely interested in mind and dementia because I was a geriatric physician in the beginning of my career. So I worked in a geriatric facility from 83 to 85. Okay, and where I was introduced to a lot of these people who have dementia, right? I have not seen much of that in India, maybe a little bit older people and all that, but not to the severe degree where the people have that. Okay, so that's what I saw, and I wanted to know about it. Then yoga said, hey, there is no mind. There are only thoughts. We give it a name. We kind of think that we have a separate mind and all that. But actually, all we have is thoughts, negative, positive, or whatever. So once you understand that, then you don't have to identify like I'm a negative person, positive person, I'm a courageous person, none of it, you know. Then you will deal with as it is. So understanding the thought that is important in outward life and the thought that's not important in inward life was crucial for me. Then I was able to not to think but to observe the thoughts, and then out of that perception was born. In the perception you're going to sense something, you're going to see something, not with any data but for what it is. See, how much time do you view something without bringing in all your conclusions, judgments, and all that? Then you may see things completely, totally different. The newness. This the ancient called like a intelligence. When you use your natural intelligence, suppose you are faced with a danger, you know how to act with it, right? In the presence of the danger, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to act with it? So what happened to the modern generation were they were too much into thinking but not observing the thinking, and so the thinking has built like a intellectual castle, like, you know. Intellect is not bad, but how do you use the intellect? How do you interpret that? All that matters a lot more. So turning the mind on itself and studying its mechanism, that was a beautiful learning, and it is a lifelong learning. You could see you have something, some experience. How are you reacting from the bank of your data that you had about your life or whatever learnings you had, whatever conditionings you had, and then putting aside and looking at that, what happens? Then you see that thing as it is, which may be completely new to you. Okay, understanding use of thought in outward matters and understanding thought uselessness or rather harm when this is turned inward. So suppose you are fearful, that's an experience. You can describe it, but actual taste of it is the same in everyone almost. Intense and low maybe, but the actual taste of the fear is the same in everyone. Once you understand that the human experience is the same, then you know where you are really common. In consciousness, thoughts happen, but the unconsciousness itself is universal. Only one. That was a shock to me when I really came to understand that. It's not my consciousness or somebody else's consciousness. We are all in one consciousness. So, like that, okay? So, but the important thing is, how do you learn now? Are you learning now? Or are you coming from your own bank of whatever conclusions, prejudices, whatever you have? So, one of the glaring thing is, um, people kind of romanticize or glorify American way of living. What American way of living? Outward enjoyments, pleasure, and promoting gun culture, violent culture, and not tolerating other people, thinking that we are exclusively better. That's all thinking. That's all your own conclusions. But if you look at the other way, then you will see modern people, including USA, they can having so many problems, right? If you want to conveniently ignore that, the gun deaths or racism or whatever, is in every other country. They are there, right? All these social problems and interaction problems, they're all because we are ignorant of our own thinking process, learning process, our brain, and all that. There's so much ignorance about that. So if you are really knowledgeable about it, and you would put that mechanism in control. Like, for example, I enjoy silence. I enjoy stillness. I enjoy serenity of my mind. But when I want to apply my thought to something, I apply very, very focused way, very nice, and get accomplished the task. So you have a task, you have some ways to go about it, and then you can do it. But afterwards, why do you want to gather so much about that task? That is where the problem is. That's where people are blame clutter, so much confusion because you have so much in there. What do you do about it? How do you keep learning but at the same time keep the mind empty? There is no mind, there is only thought. And how can you understand the movement of thought? So I mean, these look abstract, but the reality is I learn, but I also have the silence. That's the bliss. In human life, you use the intelligence, but you understand the faculty of thought and really be the master of that. So that is what they called Raja Yoga, king of yogas, because it kind of turns your own mind on itself and studies it and thereby free from it, but at the same time use it as a tool. That's where I'm not just the body and mind, but I'm the inner being that controls the body and mind. But if you don't even know the being, who is controlling your mind? Who is controlling your clutter? Who is controlling your confusion? Who is controlling your constant restlessness? That's what the modern life is about, right? People want to drink something, take medications, take all this cocaine and everything because they are seeking that relief from all that chatter and all that, right? So generally, that is the case. People may get into it because of the peer pressure, because of the experiences they have and all that. But generally, people are. You can check yourself. How much do you enjoy your own company? How much do you have clarity of thought, quietness of thought, and emotionally you are able to handle the issues of life, but at the same time, you are emotionally so stable, you could be the help for other people. right? Somebody goes into, like a physician I am, my daily thing is, yesterday a girl called me and she had questions about medical condition for which she teaches other people. And so we talked about it. So she is so confused about it, but they wanted to know. So that kind of thing, all her knowledge gave her confusion, not clarity. So what is going on? Where is the wrong thing going on? So you got to examine all that, right? So a lot of psychological suffering is because people don't know how to handle their mind in physical illness, mental illness, whatever it is, right? And also the mechanisms, like a machine learning, once you initiate some samskaras, some ingrained thoughts, and then mind goes on its own, then your own mind becomes your own worst enemy. We heard that, right? Make your mind your best friend, then you'll be very happy. I believe I only not really make a best friend, but actually I don't really need a friend or anything like a mind. I know the thoughts and I know how to not to yield to them, but observe them and let them go. Like that's what I teach. Observe the thoughts as though they are the clouds in the sky, and you, the awareness, is the sky. You be the what you are, and then you will be able to handle everything that is coming through you and going out of you. Then you don't have to worry about you know overloading the brain with lots of unnecessary thing. That's where everything comes into what is your purpose and how can you have an organized mind for the purpose, and then not to be deviated from it, but you focus, then you will achieve what you want to achieve, and you will be happy that you are doing something that you think positive and it is something important for you. So learning, never stop learning. But how do you learn? Are you learning from the accumulation of thought, maybe in the books or maybe in these talks or whatever, or are you learning by your own observation, by your own study of your own inner mechanism, egotistical tendencies, fearful tendencies, whatever that are going on within you? Are you a student of that? That is what the ancients showed us. How to understand human being and how to be humanly intelligent and how to use our faculties in a proper way. I submit to you, many people in the modern age don't know how to use the thought in a meaningful way. Either they are overwhelmed by them or they're accumulating as dirt. Your own prejudices, your own uppishness, your own egotistical tendency, like we are the superior people or superior race, whatever, they're all basically ignorance. Once you understand that's ignorance, then where is this ignorance coming from? How can I dispel this darkness of ignorance by the light of knowledge? You got to light it yourself. You can just take somebody's and accept it. Then it will not stay there. But if you really pay attention to your own ignorance and then light up with knowledge, that is how it is dispelled. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. That's what the ancient said. Tamasoma means I'm in darkness, I'm in ignorance. Jyoti means that's a light. Where the light comes in. Okay. Go and read my article on the LinkedIn. And if you have any questions or anything that you want me to ask, send me the direct message. I'll be happy to discuss with you. And anybody wants to come up, you can come up and ask me anything here now. Otherwise, I'll be closing this. This is a huge topic. But I was reflecting on my learning before I became a doctor as a student of medicine and all that. But that being a student of medicine never stopped, right? And I discovered more and more the awareness practices of the ancient, which is very relevant to us because we are suffering with mental illnesses. We are suffering with lot of information overload. We are suffering with overwhelm, burnout, confusion, and division. and so much, right? So I kind of uh, look at that way, then how did I learn? While I practice, while I seeing different sufferings in my patients. Modern medicine awfully inadequate to relieve the inner suffering of the human beings. We may take away some illnesses, we may help them, cure them, and all that, but then how psychosomatic they are, how their psyche is influencing their own illness, is like a common theme in everybody. Okay, are you still with thought and then really know this is what is going on within my mind that is influencing my physical illness? Then you have advanced a lot. But if you don't know how to even control your mind, you are running from room to room to learn from everybody's utterings, but never engaged in inner quest. Listen, you intellectuals. Intellect is outward, senses are outward. But what your inner exploration is by your own intuitive awareness. So don't take so much pride that I have a great intellect, I can talk that, I can do, I can be very, clever, shrewd, and make people feel like they cannot see my own confusion, my own suffering. You got to go inward by yourself and then find out. Okay, you can use somebody's words as guide, but the actual going inward is something you got to do. Don't tell anybody. If you already have a confused mind, if you already have prejudiced mind, if you already have a divisive mind, and you never know the real peace of mind, you never know the happiness of helping somebody, you never know the bliss of just being, not your personality but your presence. Are you in that presence all the time? Then you really understand the learning mechanism. You can use it very wisely. Anyway, all these things look mythical to you if you don't engage it by yourself. Do you have questioning the existential issues, or you are only worried about your own little ego's cravings, desires, that I want to be worshipped, I want to be appreciated, I want to be all that, people go through that. Okay, oh, I have so many accomplishments, I have written so many books, I have so much fame and name and all that. It's not rubbish. It's not adding to the life. It's not reducing the suffering of the whole humanity. On the other hand, we are destroying the planet and human beings are suffering. But you don't have to. You can awaken that intelligence within you and you will be able to really live a life of human being that is clear in his mind, that is open the heartful living, heart-centered living versus intellectually based living. Okay, that's very limited because one intellect is something different, other is something different by the conditioning and everything, right? And then they clash with each other because ego says mine is better than yours, so they fight. Can you exist in this world in a harmonious way, in a blissful, happy way? I say it is possible when you work on yourself, when you clear your own mind, when you establish a direction where you harmony with other people, other living beings, and the environment that is there, then you are existing in a harmonious way, in a joyous way. So you don't have to be given the same thing that resonates with your little mind. Recognize that. Whether you have a mind that is open and vast, or you have a mind with your own conclusions and you want to be approved, appreciated, you know, it's not so. Actually, all the human beings, everybody is in one energy. Once you know that, who are you separating yourself from? And who is that's separating? That egoic self is not you. Your inner being is not egotistical. Ego is something, personality, you kind of built it. And then you are not aware that you are dividing yourself from everybody. That's why so many people are so lonely, so cut off from the limited relationships. If you realize we are all in one energy, and every the universe and the force that is running the universe is within you, how can you be lonely? How can you feel miserable? If you think you are a little self, you are. But if you are not little self, maybe you have a name and everything just to identify. But if you really think that is that you, oh, I have this much name, I have this much fame and all that, then you have divided yourself from the whole. When you are in the whole and realize the whole and recognize everybody is the same, you are unity. You are unified with everything. This is the same. World is you and you are the world. It's very difficult to understand to begin with and to be like that. Then your thought is a beautiful instrument. It doesn't divide, it doesn't create ego and all that. Anyway, go and read my article, in my LinkedIn. And if you have any things you want to commit with me, DM me. Thank you. And I'll see you again at noon hour for our inner resilience series. I'll be there for about 45 minutes or so. And we're going to take up the first part of the 9-part series. Today is the financial uncertainty. How do you deal with it? Okay. And how do you deal with it with the inner resilience? So, financial uncertainty can come, but you will come out of it. Either you resolved it or you have learned to ways not to do some things or to do something. That stability, that inner focus that will be there, that will be like your keel of the ship in the vast life of sea. And then you will chart through it with the dignity and also with a lot of happiness too. Thank you. I'll see you around noon time. Here is 10:30 or so. So in another 1.5 hours, I will see you. Bye-bye.